Our investigation today will lead us back over a decade and a half to a murder trial that started with a misplaced wallet in the parking lot of a grocery store. The discovery by a single lady inside triggered a domino effect of hidden information, constant monitoring, and long-suppressed realities. In the middle, an unsolved cold case and the hidden truth that changed a family for good. During a renewed case in 2020, a personal item found by a local woman named Marissa Holloway on August 27th was brought into evidence. Probe into a murder. At the age of 34, Holloway was employed as a trauma nurse on the night shift at Valley Ridge Medical Center, the sole hospital situated within a 30-meter radius. Later that night, just after 7:30 p.m., she stopped by the Fremont Supermarket, a little 24-hour grocery shop that served the northern part of town on Lakeview Drive. Following her purchase, Holloway strolled over to her car, which was positioned close to the wreckage of the shopping cart return on the eastern side. By the time she got her cart back, she had seen a brown leather wallet half buried under a metal cart rail, sprawled out on the sidewalk. Even with the clasp fastened, the wallet was clearly worn. Damage from the sun, scuffed edges, and cracked leather. She planned to take it to the store's lost and found desk after picking it up. But after taking a quick look inside, she decided she didn't want it and headed straight for her car. The following items were contained within the wallet. A valid driver's license issued by the state of Nevada to Alexis Renee Moore. Birth date, July 2nd. The year, 1983. In 2011, the license was revoked. Several receipts from establishments in the Reed Ridge neighborhood, such as a diner, a dry cleaning, and a petrol station. They were all from the years 2008 to 2010. Folded in half, 8 $1 banknotes. An almost finished punch card from the 2012 closure of Sparkle Wash, a laundry that was in business for quite some time. Behind the ID flap was also a single Polaroid image. The original inquiry revolved around this photograph. Holloway said afterwards that she just looked at it completely as she got inside her car and opened the door beneath the dome light. A man standing outside at night was depicted in the image. The area appeared to consist of dirt, boulders, low desert vegetation, and desert scrubland, which is characteristic of southern Nevada, according to the observed topographical features. The guy was dressed in cargo pants and a lightweight hoodie. Though slightly tilted to the right, his face remained unveiled. Quickly recognizing her husband, Jason Holloway, who was 38 years old at the time, Holloway identified him. Prior to go further, share your viewing location with us in the comments. Your feedback is much appreciated. If you want to be sure you don't miss any of our future videos, subscribe now. Based on Jason's apparent age and hairdo, the photo seemed to have been shot around 10 years ago. A man stood by a black tarp spread out on the floor. Unsecured was the tarp. The corner had rolled back, exposing what seemed like a naked, pale foot placed in an abnormal way. It was nighttime, and the subject was lit from the front left side, thus the lighting source was probably artificial, but it wasn't visible. The area around was completely dark. The photograph lacked any discernible features, including buildings, license plates, faces apart from Jason's, and a timestamp that could be found on the front. On the other hand, there was a faint blue ink notation that read June 14th, 2010 on the back of the Polaroid. Holloway did not return to the business or disclose the incident after seeing the image, reporting the results to the jurisdictional authorities. Rather, she stuffed the photo and wallet inside a paper grocery bag and headed back to her Preston Road home. She denied telling her husband about the wallet that night, according to her subsequent statement. After putting the shopping bag in a locked cabinet in the laundry area, she went on to use her own laptop later that night to research the name Alexis Moore. From 2007 until 2010, Alexis Moore was identified as a resident of Reed Ridge in the public records. Among her previous jobs was a position as a junior financial auditor for the private company Sierra Arc Dynamics, which works on defense technology contracts for the government. One pertinent result from a search of local news archives was a June 18, 2010 item in the Reed Ridge Tribune reporting that Moore is missing. That article states that Alexis Moore departed her Glendale Avenue residence on the evening of June 14, 2010. An internal complaint was lodged by Moore at Sierra Arkin days before she vanished, albeit it did not specify who was the target of the grievance. The case remained unsolved and was deemed a cold case by the years in 2011. The photo, license, and wallet were found 10 years and 2 months after Alexis Moore's last reported sighting. The age of 27 was her official disappearance year. There was a complete lack of tangible evidence connecting her disappearance to foul activity, including the discovery of a body and the public naming of a suspect. Printed with Destiny's pen on the June 14, 2010 was the only date visible on the reverse of the shot. She started looking for the name Alexis Moore, which was printed on the Nevada driver's license she had discovered in the wallet on her personal laptop. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, one relevant result came back from an internet search. On June 18, 2010, the Readridge Tribune published a concise piece. The paper states that earlier that week, 27-year-old Alexis Moore was reported missing. Before this, she worked for a regional defense contractor as a junior auditor. Dynamic Sierra. It was mentioned in the report that just before she vanished, she had complained about a co-worker's harassment on the job. Her last known whereabouts was close to her Glendale Avenue residence. So far, no one had been named as a suspect. There was no evidence of foul play. After a few months, no new information on the case surfaced in public records. A snapshot of the article was saved by Marissa. She continued by looking for any further mentions of Alexis Moore in online databases, social media, and job records. Evidence such a person's voter registration, itinerary, or housing lease. After the mid-200s, no more results were returned. After that year's summer, it seemed like even more had gone. That jibed with the June 14, 2010 date scrawled on the photo's reverse. Jason Holloway, Marissa's husband, had worked for Sierra Arc Dynamics at the same time. From 2008 until his departure in late 2010, he worked as an IT professional for the company. He had been somewhat mum about the position for quite some time. At the time it arose, according to him, the atmosphere was poisonous, and he characterized the business as corporate and paranoid. He was relieved to be leaving what he described as a harsh environment. No one had ever asked Marissa for clarification before. This was the first time she had ever needed to. The following morning, she refrained from confronting Jason. Regarding the photo, the pocketbook, or Alexis Moore, she remained silent. On the contrary, she started to watch his actions more closely. When we last checked in with Jason, he was 38 years old and a freelance IT consultant. Marissa had observed throughout the past few weeks little shifts in his habits. After about 11 o'clock in the evening, he started out for walks. Whenever someone walked into the room, he would swiftly close his laptop. He seemed more preoccupied than normal while talking on the phone, and he frequently placed his phone face down on tables and other surfaces. In a secret note-taking app, she recorded these observations. She also started stealthily going through discarded home electronics. She found Jason's old backup drive, an external hard drive, in a closet in the corridor. She linked it to her laptop that was provided by her employer and started going over its contents. One directory stuck out among the archived directories and typical system files. Along with other encrypted zip files, it also included a plain text document whose name seemed very technical. Upon opening the text file, Marissa proceeded to scan its contents. Although brief, the details were disturbing. It used people's initials exclusively and used expressions that didn't make sense. Both the meaning and the references did not seem to pertain to Alexis at first glance. Moore was born. The initials used were unfamiliar to Marissa. After making an exact duplicate of the folder, she put it on an external USB drive and stashed it away in a secret spot in the kitchen. Nothing on the original disk was deleted or changed by her. Jaden Holloway, Jason and Marissa's son, who was 16 years old at the time, emerged from his room one night while they sat quietly in the living room. Standing in the doorway, he gazed at them. "Is Dad in trouble?" he inquired expressionlessly. Marissa remained silent. After casting her gaze downward, she gestured for him to gone back to his room. Jason seems unfazed by the conversation. The Reedridge Police Department received an unmarked letter from Marissa Holloway on September 2, 2020. The contents included a 2010 newspaper story, a Polaroid picture, and Alexis Moore's Nevada driver's license. No return address was given by her. She had not ventured outdoors since finding the objects in the parking lot of the Fremont supermarket until this point. The next day, on the 4th of September, investigators trace Randall and Kesha. Pard rapped on the entrance door of the corridor. There was an active case of a missing individual, so they let Jason and Marissa know that they were looking into some paperwork. The fingerprint processing of the wallet was complete. Jason Holloway was recognized by partial matches found on the photo sleeve and inside lining. Jason claimed ignorance when questioned about the photo and wallet. The wallet, he said, was strange and the photo had to have been staged. He claimed he had never seen the show and had never met Alexis Moore, things that were there beforehand. It was also implied in the photo that he had been in the desert at night, but he denied it. Marissa remained silent throughout the entire visit. The fact that she was the envelope's sender remained hidden from view. Additionally, she hid the fact that she had retrieved files from Jason's old hard drive. An unencrypted text document with nebulous allusions to 3 people was one of the files. The phrase hinted at a situation involving a road trip, a threat maker, and a location called 9-3. Despite Marissa's was aware of it at the time, investigators did not waste any time linking the allusion to U.S. Highway 93, a significant desert thoroughfare that passes through Reedridge and continues south into Arizona. Long portions of the highway are unlit, there is little traffic, and there aren't many cameras along the lonely area. Randall and Pard started going through Jason and Alexis Moore's personnel files at Sierra Arc Dynamics. Casey Rubin and Todd Mason were 2 more ex-employees whose tenures coincided with Jason's that they found. Between 2009 and 2010, they both worked as support staff. Nobody could question Casey Rubin anymore. He passed away in an automobile accident in October 2019. Rubin was driving alone in his Tesla Model S when he lost control, according to the Nevada Highway Patrol. A fixed building was struck as the vehicle drove off a state highway. At the scene, he was declared dead. He tested positive for ethanol and a sedative in his blood. Detectives reopened the case of Moore's disappearance and seized entry to the Tesla's cloud-based information network. Voice command microphones were used to record audio in the cabin. Just before the crash, Rubin seemed to be talking loudly. There was a partial slur statement captured in the last 30 seconds of the recording. Rationing was in her future. We vanquished her. Because of that, Alexis will remain a mystery. The timestamp on the tape read 12:18 a.m. around 1 minute prior to collision. It was determined by audio forensics that it had not been altered. Although the background was vague, the cited was abrupt and unasked for when speaking with Alexis Moore. Todd Mason, the other departed co-worker, remained a Nevada resident. Although he had not been approached just yet, his name was added to the expanding list of individuals being investigated. Holloway, Rubin, and Mason all departed Sierra Arc within 6 months after Moore went missing, according to internal documentation. No one possessed official records of dismissal. Every departure was recorded as opt-out. The blue Nissan Pathfinder that Jason had sold and was also found in public documents by the detectives. In 2015 via an undisclosed internet listing. A mechanic in Elko was now the owner of the automobile. The pursuit of the SUV and its possible forensic evidence prompted investigators to take action. Jason, however, continued to deny the allegations. Despite his claims to the contrary, he maintained that he was unaware of anything that happened in 2010, had no prior contact with Alexis Moore, and had never collaborated closely with Rubin or Mason. A lawyer was not something he sought for. In light of fresh information regarding the disappearance of Alexis Moore and statements made in connection with it, the Reedridge Police. On September 9, 2020, the case was formally reopened by the department. Investigators from the Nevada State Bureau of Investigations were part of a joint task team that was given oversight. The goal was to find out if a crime had been committed by retracing the events from June 2010. The first step for the investigators was to look over Moore's digital footprint and work history during her last weeks. On June 10, 2010, she lodged an internal complaint with Sierra Arc Dynamics. An unidentified coworker was named and cited billing system discrepancies that affected the company's finances. Leaving her apartment complex, Moore was last seen on June 14, 2010. It was the next day before she skipped work. Upon first inspection, there was no indication of a struggle or forced entry at her apartment. Early in 2011, the case essentially became cold. The focus shifted to Jason Holloway at the same time as the timeline reconstruction was underway. He had direct overlap with Moore's in his employment at Sierra, Arkansas. According to the records, he resigned in October of 2010, 4 months after her vanishing act. He claimed his own reasons for departing as the cause for his departure at the time. There was no finding of a disciplinary record. A car sale in 2015 yielded one piece of information. Holloway put his 2004 Nissan Pathfinder SUV up for auction on a Las Vegas-based private marketplace. One customer in Elko, Nevada, acquired the van that was listed. The technician Louis Stanford, who was 41 years old at the time of purchase, had kept the car as his own. Since purchasing, he has not mentioned any major changes or heavy use. Stanford was contacted by investigators on September 14, 2020. He willingly consented to a thorough forensic investigation of the vehicle. Medics from a mobile crime scene team searched the area. A panel was removed from beneath the floor liner of the cargo area during the inspection. Inside, experts found two things: damaged cloth that looked like a woman's top and old human hair strands. Symptoms of material deterioration suggestive of long-term storage were present. The Nevada state received both of these. Crime Scene Investigations Unit. Alexis Moore was positively identified by DNA testing, which utilized a reference profile created from a blood sample taken in 2007 during a Las Vegas hospital visit. The odds of a perfect match were more than 9,999%. Desert landscapes are depicted in all 5 images. The photographs were taken in a secluded wash basin some 30 miles south of Laughlin, Nevada, off a dirt road close to the Nevada-Arizona border, according to the embedded GPS coordinates. There have been reports of flash floods and debris flows in the region. Fields, open ground with a partial excavation around 3 feet wide, was shown in the first shot. In the second, a figure draped in a tarp lay next to some scrub bush. In the third, we saw a close-up of what seemed like a human hand, with some of the details muted by the surrounding foliage and loose dirt. The fourth shot was taken from above, giving a bird's-eye perspective of the same spot. Crucial was the last picture. The sixth shot shows an unnamed person with a flashlight aimed at the floor. This individual's wrist was adorned with a timepiece. The triceps. The watch was later positively identified as belonging to Jason Holloway, as shown in an employee photo at Sierra Arc Dynamics taken in 2009. All of the markings on the face, strap, and bezel were identical. Metadata analysis verified that the 5 images were shot on the evening of June 14, 2010, within a 20-minute interval. Starting with an undisturbed scene, the scenario progressed to one where a body was partially buried and later retrieved with debris. We looked at satellite images of the exact locations. The precise location had never been disrupted by new building or renovation projects. The wash was equipped with ground-penetrating radar in early October 2020. Subterranean, scientists found biological evidence that was compatible with human remains. What came next was an extensive dig. The identified spot was the site of the discovery of an adult female skeleton in a shallow burial on October 8, 2020. Also found were fragments of Moore's skirt and a portion of her shoe, all of which were in keeping with her final known attire. After that, they moved the bones to the Clark County Coroner's Office. Verification through dental records established the identify as 27-year-old Alexis Moore. According to the results of the forensic investigation, she died between 12 and 24 hours after her last verified encounter. Symptoms of head trauma, most likely caused by a collision, were present. The artifacts found at the site and the state of the burial itself suggested that it had been hastily and without proper planning. Along with GPS data, the USB device's discovery also gave video evidence that Jason Holloway was present at. Location of the grave, his identifying watch, the victim's location, and the presence of a tarp all pointed to his involvement in the victim's concealment and transfer. Authorities from the Reedridge Police Department and the Nevada State Bureau of Investigations formally interviewed Jason Holloway on October 14, 2020. Though he was not yet in custody, he had been identified as a significant suspect after the discovery of Alexis Moore's body and the identification of forensic evidence that connects him to the location of his burial. For the first 2 hours of the interview, Holloway stuck to his original storyline, denying ever meeting Alexis Moore and claiming the photo and wallet were fabrications. Holloway shifted his body language in response to the forensic evidence, which included a piece of his shirt, DNA that matched the evidence, digital photo metadata, and a printed replica of his watch. The interview transcript states that after sitting quietly for a while, he finally spoke up, if cameras were rolling in the room. It was, according to the investigators. Following this, Jason Holloway verbally confessed all that was necessary to the prosecution's case, and the transcript of his confession is now part of the case file. Midway through the year 2000, he conceded Alexis Moore had found billing discrepancies at Sierra Arc Dynamics. His recollection is that she found inflated and duplicate invoices sent via third-party shell companies. A section of the internal systems had been maintained by Holloway, and he admitted that he had some experience with data handling and was familiar with the process of addressing incorrect entries. Moore allegedly told Holloway she was going to escalate the situation in early June 2010 when she addressed him personally. She informed him that she was ready to submit the differences to external authorities after documenting them. Holloway asserted that he became terrified and confided in two colleagues, Todd Mason and Casey Rubin, who were involved in the financial and administrative processes at Sierra, Arkansas. The trio had a private meeting and came to the conclusion that further action would result in federal investigation, employment termination, and criminal prosecution. A person implored Holloway to slow her down, according to his statement. A rendezvous was scheduled. A gas station on Route 164, just west of Searchlight, Nevada, was the meeting place for Holloway and Moore on June 14, 2010. As a couple, they sped southeast in his SUV, following unnamed service roads that led to the Arizona border. Holloway said they were trying to dissuade her. It was said that Moore became angry and urged them to get in touch with federal agents right away. Holloway claims that she tried to exit the car after opening the door. Just then, he smacked her over the head with a rock. Collapsed she was. She died on impact, according to Holloway. Before contacting Casey Rubin, he stayed with the corpse for about an hour. Later that evening, Todd Mason showed up. They buried her in a dry wash after moving her body a short distance from the road. The tarp they had stashed in the SUV's rear was subsequently rejected. They gathered and divided her belongings, including her phone and money. The device was rendered useless. Holloway maintained the wallet as an insurance policy, although he confessed afterwards that he seldom checked it and often forgot its whereabouts. The deletion of digital files pertaining to the billing system took place. There were no copies kept as backups. According to Holloway, Casey used his own digital camera to shoot the shot that was located in the wallet. Even though the memory card was erased, the USB stick was found, and the SUV had unknowingly saved the pictures. No request to speak with Holloway's wife was made by him throughout the interview. The recording was only allowed to Marissa Holloway, who was present at the station that day and supervised, though. Observations made by the relevant authorities indicate that she listened to music while waiting outside the interview room. She refrained from cutting in. It was clear that her hands were trembling. Until the confession was over, she sat quietly. Jaden, her 16-year-old son, was in the waiting room. Both throughout and after the playback, he remained silent. Later on, when asked about his level of comprehension, he said, "All of it, that night, the family went back home." Jason and Marissa never spoke again. She divorced within 2 weeks. In the end, authorities in Reno tracked down Todd Mason and hauled him in for questioning. Mason consented to assist after being presented with Holloway's confession and the evidence that had been recovered. Although he denied knowing about the plan to use violence beforehand, his account of events was consistent with Holloway's. He came clean about his role in hiding the corpse, undelete and remove data, the district attorney's office, and he entered into a legal agreement to formalize his cooperation. On November 15, 2021, at Clark County's 8th Judicial District Court, Jason Holloway's trial commenced. Alexis Moore's 2010 disappearance and death were investigated for 14 months prior to the hearings. In addition to other felony counts, Holloway was also accused of destroying physical evidence, conspiring to impede justice, and second-degree murder. Prosecutors from the Clark Office of the County District Attorney. A plea bargain was reached when Holloway's former Sierra Arc Dynamics colleague, Todd Mason, consented to testify. Mason said that he helped hide Moore's body and delete important documents. He was given a 15-year prison term to be served at Northern Nevada Correctional Center, with parole eligibility after 12 years, in exchange for his full confession and cooperation. The evidence that Mason presented was supported by tangible and digital proof offered in court. Despite entering a not guilty plea during arraignment, Jason Holloway was not released on bond. The prosecution used Holloway's recorded confession, DNA evidence, GPS metadata, recovered files, and witness testimony to build a timeline throughout the trial. The Polaroid picture, the pictures on the USB drive, the Pathfinder SUV's fabric and hair samples, and Holloway's own admission that he was responsible for Moore's killing were all pieces of evidence. The rationale contended that the occurrence was a spontaneous act of panic rather than a premeditated crime, without contesting the forensic results. Responding, the prosecution stressed the three defendants' coordination, the murder scene's concealment, and the decades-long cover-up. Jurors spent 6 hours deliberating. All charges against Jason Holloway were found guilty on December 3, 2021. The most secure jail facility in Nevada, Ely State Prison, will spend out his 45-year term without the chance of release. Facility. Within the statutory window, no appeal was lodged. During the sentencing, nobody spoke. There were Alexis Moore's relatives there. A prepared statement detailing the losses caused by a wound that remained open for a decade was submitted to the court by her younger sister. She recognized Marissa Holloway's contribution to the case's reopening and praised the detectives for their work. Subpoenaed to testify was Marissa Holloway. While testifying, she verified the circumstances surrounding the discovery of the wallet on August 27, 2020, in the parking lot of the Fremont supermarket. She went into detail about seeing her spouse in the photo, looking up Alexis Moore's name, and her decision not to face Jason head-on. The steps of secretly transferring files from the old hard drive and sending them to the police were also outlined by her. During her whole testimony, her voice never wavered. Jason remained invisible to her. After the trial and inquiry were over, Marissa took her son Jaden and filed for a divorce. They then moved to Henderson, Nevada. According to the data that is publicly available, a 2-bedroom apartment close to the Green Valley neighborhood was their new home. Jaden attended a nearby high school after transferring and earned his diploma in 2023. In March 2022, Moore's remaining sister paid a visit to the spot where Alexis Moore's body was found, an unmarked wash basin close to the border between Nevada and Arizona. The installation of a tiny memorial plaque near the spot was made possible with the approval of governmental officials. A brief message is inscribed on the plaque. Truthfully, she spoke. The cost was on her. In April, the case file pertaining to Alexis Moore was officially closed. The year, 2022, it stayed open for a full 12 years. The time frame, participants, and confirmed evidence are detailed in the investigative summary, along with the cause of death. The state has sealed all items submitted as evidence and is keeping them in archive storage. The case may have ended up in court, but its effects went far beyond that.